Hello people, and today I'm talking about Five Nights at Freddy's. Not the video game, but the movie. Now, I know quite a lot about FNAF. That is a shortened down name, but I did lose a lot of interest in it in the future because stories started becoming a lot more messy and just a bunch of other stuff. So yeah, I wouldn't call myself a big fan, but I enjoy the universe. I like the idea of the games, but I wouldn't call me the best fan. Also, I do have issues with this film, so no, this won't be me just going over nostalgic stuff. But yeah, the basic plot of this film is that Mike, the main character, is trying to get a job, and he eventually gets a job at Freddy Fazbear's, which is basically a Chuck E. Cheese, but it's an abandoned building now, and he's a security guard looking after the animatronics and arcade machines that have been left over there.
That job that you offered was still available.
Yes. The security guard.
I will take anything.
This place was huge in the 80s with the kids. They shut it down years ago. The owner's just not ready to let it go yet.
While that also happens, Mike is also dealing with problems of his past. One of them being that his brother, who was kidnapped years ago, is still weighing on his mind and has been something he's been struggling to deal with and let go of. Also, he's now looking after his sister Abby, as they don't have parents anymore. I'll get into spoilers later, but right now I'll be spoiler free in case you haven't seen this film and you're thinking of watching it. But this movie is strange. I don't know if I like it or don't. There's definitely things in it that work. Like visually, I think the film looks quite nice. It has some good shots. But I also don't think it's very scary. At least nothing comes off as scary to me. Though I will say the opening scene has a great atmosphere to it. But also I don't feel like anything later on in the film matches that kind of atmosphere again. The actual 5 nights in the movie didn't feel that impactful, with a lot of the time nothing even happening. When we get to see the animatronics moving around, they don't really come off as threatening, at least not towards Mike and some of the other characters. I'll talk about that in the spoiler section also. Animatronics are built well and look nice. They are all practical, like they're all costumes, or some I think are actual animatronics. They all look good. They look like their video game counterparts, and they work well in the movie, though I think at times they can come off a bit goofy looking. Mike is played well, but there's certain scenes in the film where I feel like his character should have had more emotion to it, especially when he finds out why the animatronics are alive and some other stuff. But overall, the actor does do a great job at playing the character. The kills in the movie are okay. If you are interested in that part of horror in general, you might be a bit disappointed, as this film is PG-13, aka 15 in the UK. So they can't go all out on the kills, but what they do with them is actually pretty good, especially one of the kills. But yeah, it could be a lot more violent if you're looking for something more violent. Anyway, if you're a huge FNAF fan, you will probably really enjoy this, or maybe you won't, I don't know, since I know there's a lot of FNAF fans who also wish this was a lot more different. And if you're not, you'll probably also maybe enjoy this. If you're like looking for just a fun sort of horror movie, then this works. But I will say I think there's a lot better horror movies out there. But this is fun. Like, it's definitely not a full-on bad film, and it is entertaining. Anyway, I'm going to get onto the spoiler section of this movie. So if you haven't seen the movie, then go check it out. If you have, watch this section. If you haven't, once again, do check it out. But if you want, you can just watch the spoiler section if you don't care that much. Anyway, on to spoilers. Well, at least things I consider spoilers. The dream sequences, they're okay, but I also don't find them the most interesting thing. Especially since they don't do much, I feel like, besides they can't go into Mike's past, obviously, because of his brother being involved in the dreams. But I do wish they could tried to do something different visually. Or it's always in the same location, but it'd be cool to have some more weirder dream sequences, more trippy and stuff. But they work well for what it is doing. Though I will say the one scare in the dream sequence I wouldn't say is creepy. I do understand that it's a reference to the ghosts in the game because they have black tears or whatever, but it just comes off of kinda goofy instead of creepy. Vanessa is okay. The actress does a fine job at playing the character, but the character is seemingly mostly there to explain the history of FNAF. I don't really feel like she has much more of a purpose besides that, and maybe the fact that she is Springtrap's daughter. Matthew Lillard does an okay job, but when we finally see him in the Springtrap suit / Spring Bonnie suit, it doesn't feel as impactful as the film tries to make it out. At least to me it doesn't. I don't know why, it just doesn't feel as big of a moment as it would. Also, I do question why he's in the suit. Now, it might be because the animatronics know him as the Yellow Bunny, so they only trust him in the costume, but he does take off the mask, so it seemingly isn't that. But you could maybe say he just enjoys killing people in the outfit. What, yeah, I guess makes sense. But also, the probably main reason is they wanted to do the spring lock scene, so he had to be in the costume. Once again, Vanessa being revealed as Purple Guy's daughter is okay, but once again, Vanessa isn't that interesting of a character to me. At least we don't learn much about her. She's a cop. What they don't really talk about, they kind of just glaze over that, besides the one scene with her finding Mike's sleeping pills. One of my favourite scenes, I don't know, it's just a scene that I like, is hearing the kid's voice come out of the Freddy costume. It's just a cool scene altogether. Also, the kill in it is pretty good, and it's pretty good for a PG-13 slash, well, 15s can have quite a lot of violence, but PG-13, for a PG-13 film, it's a pretty good kill.
What the heck?
The fort building scene, it's okay in my opinion. I know, and I can't understand why a lot of people hate it. I understand it mostly because it takes the film out of being a horror for a while, and once again, it makes the animatronics feel less scary in that way. But I also understand that it's the film's way of showing, yes, the animatronics are still children. Because they're ghosts of children. So, of course, they would act like children at times. Also, the ghost children wanting Abby makes sense to me, at least. But Mike agreeing to have his brother and being around his family dream thing forever is a bit dumb. I do understand that Mike is very obsessed with his past and being able to live it again, but I feel like Mike's smart enough to not just agree to have a dream forever. Also, the broken Freddy we see, I don't know if it has a name, is weird. Because he clearly obviously kills the aunt, and the taxi driver notices when it gets into the car, but seemingly it's a ghost, or at least it just disappears as if it's a ghost. I have no idea how it works. I don't know what animatronic it's maybe. Originally I thought it was Golden Freddy, but apparently it's not gold from what I can tell. So yeah, I have no idea what its deal is. Springtrap's final line, "I always come back," in my opinion wasn't necessary. Some people have said it's because he's obviously extremely confident that he believes even in death he'll come back in some way. But I just don't think the line was needed, maybe in the third or second movie, but I feel like in the first, and the way it's said and it's done feels like, oh look, he said the line, instead of it's just a line and it's just how the character thinks. Overall, I think the film is fine. It's definitely not the best horror film out there, and I wouldn't consider it the best video game adaptation out there, but what it does is okay, and if you're a FNAF fan, I can understand why you could see this as an amazing film. But in my opinion, it's just an okay film. Definitely doesn't beat some of the horror films out there. But yeah, I was very debating on what to rate it as. Once again, I don't think it's bad, but I do think it has a lot of issues that should be fixed. And I do wish it had a much more creepier atmosphere to it. would give the film 3.5 stars out of 5. Just because, once again, I think it's okay, but there's a lot of issues with it where don't feel like I could give it 4 stars. But maybe in the future, if I rewatch this again later on, I might feel like giving it 4. But right now, this is my rating. Anyway, thanks for watching if you've gotten this far, and if you liked the video, then like it. If you didn't, you can dislike it. If you want to leave your thoughts on the movie, comment or do whatever, or even leave your thoughts on this video. But yeah, that's all, and goodbye.
Set the phases to run. What's got you distraught? It's
I'll never forget the day Shaggy walked on set and announced he had killed God. I don't actually remember filming any scenes. Once the cameras started rolling, I would black out as the spirit of Shaggy possessed my mortal body once again.